everyone, so in today's video I'm going to be setting up my leopard gecko enclosure. I am using the Zilla 20 long enclosure for this. The minimum for a leopard gecko is 10 gallons, but I just thought that was a little bit too small personally, so I am using a 20-gallon enclosure. So literally all I've done so far is just remove the cardboard that's wrapped around it and the sticker on the front. Now I'm just wiping off the stand that I'm going to have the tank on. I did have a fish tank on this stand before, so I just quickly wiped it down in case there's any water droplets or anything, and then I placed my tank where I wanted it to be. I then went ahead and took a cloth and just some water and I wiped down the tank. Because it was never used before, it wouldn't have anything bad in it, so I didn't need to sterilize anything crazy, but I just wanted to get any dust that might have settled from being in the pet store. Definitely not the most exciting part of a setup, but it is important to do anyways. There are many things you can use to raise your tank. Some heat mats will actually come with rubber stoppers to raise your tank. Some tanks automatically come with them. Unfortunately, mine did not. So you can kind of make it out of whatever you want. And I'm just using bottle caps, which other people have done. And so if you want to do it on a budget, this is all you have to do. Once the tank was all wiped down and clean, I went ahead and added my substrate. Now, with a leopard gecko, there is a lot of different substrates that people like to use. But the overall consensus is that using loose substrate is not a good idea. You can use tile, you can use non-adhesive shelf liner, which is what I'm using here, paper towel, newspaper, but I'm just using this non-adhesive shelf liner that I actually just got from the dollar store. I don't have to cut it at all along the side, it fit right in, so all I had to do was just kind of pull it out, mark a spot of where it ended and I needed to cut it so that it fit inside my tank, and then I went ahead and cut it. So I hope that makes sense. I'm not a DIY channel, but as you can see, there's just little marks on there, and then I'm going ahead and cutting it. So once the mat was cut, I then just placed it in my tank, and as you can see, it now fits perfectly. So yeah, that's all there is to the substrate if you're using a non-adhesive shelf liner. And now we get to the fun part, which is setting up the decorations. How you choose to decorate your leopard gecko enclosure is really up to you, but you want to make sure you have at least 3 separate hides. You want to have one on the warm side, one on the cool side, and one in the middle that can double as a moist hide. If you don't want to have a moist or humid hide in your tank all the time, that is okay, as long as you put one in when you see your leopard gecko is starting to shed. And I'm just kind of moving things around as I like them, and as I add more, I slowly start to move them around.
I watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along, and I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? Forever. Forever. Forever.
Now that I have all of the decor that is inside the tank, I decided to add a background. Because leopard geckos like to hide a lot, they really enjoy having kind of the light blocked from the back. So when you have a leopard gecko, generally having a background is a very good idea. Once I added the background, I feel like it looked a lot more full and I like the look of it a lot better. And now that all the fun stuff is done, we are back to adding the technology. So for me, I'm going to be adding a thermometer to the cold side of the tank. This one is by Zoomed. It's just a digital thermometer. Like I mentioned earlier, the heat mat comes with a thermostat, so that kind of acts as the thermometer on that side. Now, where you put the probe, which is the little thing at the end, is very important when it comes to accurately measuring the temperatures. If it is not lying directly on the substrate, which for my case is a mat, then it's actually going to be reading the ambient temperature, which is just a fancy word for the air temperature. And what really matters with leopard geckos is the temperature that their belly is touching. So you really want to make sure that the probe is not like just kind of like taped to the side of the enclosure, but that it's really lying flat on the ground. And that way you'll really get the accurate temperature reading that you want to get. Now, when it comes to adding lights to a leopard gecko enclosure, this is a very controversial topic. Some people are adamant that you should have them. Some people are adamant that you shouldn't. Basically, leopard geckos' eyes can be a little bit sensitive, so using red lights or blue lights can harm their eyes, as well as really, really bright lights. Some people think using a small light bulb on a dimmer is okay. And some people use UVB. I decide to use it every few days. So I don't have it on all the time. I don't have it on every day. Just every once in a while, I'll turn it on for a short period of time. These bulbs do not give off heat generally, which is okay because leopard geckos do not need ambient heat from a light bulb because they absorb the heat through their bellies. So now my tank is completely set up and I'm ready to add a leopard gecko. I did add a couple other plants that I had purchased later. Because my leopard gecko is going to be younger, the more foliage the better, but an older leopard gecko would probably appreciate a lot of space like that. But that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video of watching me set up my leopard gecko enclosure, and I hope that maybe you got some tips on how to set up an enclosure for your leopard gecko if you want to get one in the future, or even some ideas if you have a leopard gecko but you want to change things up, give it a different enclosure, whatever it may be. If you want to see more videos like this, then make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified when I upload. And that is all for today. I hope to see you again soon, guys. Bye.